Doreen Mosher, my girl. You take me to church in every conversation that we have. You just have this beautiful philosophy in life. Have other people told you that?
Megan, thank you. Yes, I have heard that from others. It's part of the bonus of being such a deep thinker. That can
Mm.
also be torturous. But part of the bonus of being a deep thinker is always analyzing what's occurring, what's happening around me, and how it affects me. And then what do I want to do with it?
Oh, I love that. I want to share with our listeners because, girl, you just took me to church within the 2 minutes while we were saying hello. And I think it needs repeating. I was sharing with you when you said to me, "How are you?" I said, "I'm being very intentional on being aware of how much I complain." And I was sharing with you, a girlfriend of mine had shared with me that her marriage changed completely when she stopped complaining about her partner. And it made me reflect on how I am always putting a but when people ask me how I am. I'm good, but I'm tired. I'm good, but I'm busy. I'm good, but my back's up against a wall. These words that we use, we don't realize their power. And you shared something with me so powerful. Do you mind sharing that with our audience?
Sure. I think that what I would say, sorry, now I'm blanking on what I said. Prompt me, Megan, so I can get this right, and then we'll do this again. What did I
Oh,
say?
don't you hate when you have like these
Oh my
really
God, I have these
beautiful
profound
moments?
thoughts, and then you help me, and then we'll do that again. Sorry.
Yes. It was all about when you took the Strength Finders
Oh yeah.
test
Okay. Okay. Yes. Go ahead. Yep. Prompt me again. Okay.
and
Great.
your
Yep.
innate
Yes.
ability to look for the
Yep.
positivity and how
Yep.
you're choosing that as a place to live.
Yep.
Yeah. So share
Yes.
with our audience about that, about, what you look for, you find in your thoughts in this climate that we're living in and how it's easy to look for the bad, but look for the good. And the moment that you're in choosing positivity.
Yeah. I think that first of all, it's always you feel in such a better space, right? When you are positive, when you're optimistic, when you believe that things can work out and things can be possible. I think we all feel so much better in that space. But and and or so let me say, and it is my natural state. I actually, for one of the things that my organization SHRM does when you join the organization, and we join through acquisition, is they give everyone the Clifton Strength Finders test and assessment. Sorry, I say test; it's an assessment. And my number one strength was positivity.
Mm.
And I've had many people, mention that in my life, but I never really acknowledged that I just innately do believe things will work out. I do
Mm.
believe things will. Now, it's not that I'm saying that things will work out without you taking action, without you being accountable, without you causing things and making choices to make your life positive. But I also think it's just serves me to be in the positive instead of sometimes being addicted to the drama, Megan, of what's wrong, of what's wrong. Or another thing I think we might frequently say, Megan, you said I'm good, but I think there's a lot of I'll be good when,
Mm.
right? Like, oh, like, so you're not actually acknowledging the incredible, maybe accomplishments, blessings, abundance, opportunities as you're on the journey, which, by the way, is never ending. As long as we breathe, we're on the journey. So there is no destination. And I think what we do, what is a default in human nature, is to have these goals, right? What you talk about a lot, right? Being addicted to this achievement, and that we're actually not acknowledging the amazing things that we're doing along the way, which and all there is along the way, is what I'm trying to say. Yes, we may have a goal, but then what happens when you reach that goal? So you're not allowed to celebrate until you actually reach it. What about all the steps along the way? And then how about the hangover when you reach a goal? Then what do you do?
Yeah. Ooh, I love that. You have me salivating over here like Homer Simpson, Doreen, because as you talk about the hangover, one thing that I've been so aware of with myself in this journey which to your point is never ending. You never reach this optimal. It's a constant evolution. Is that I have caught myself when you get the highs of achieving, when you get the high of closing the deal or getting the likes on the social posts or getting the validation from the friend group or your colleagues or whatever that is, then you are constantly searching for it. And you're hitting refresh on the emails, on the social apps, looking for the next high.
Yep.
And it's an addiction. How do you in this world juggling all the things? Because listen, you're a mama, you have a partner, you have a family close by, you're leading this exhilarating career that you're passionate about. What sort of bumper lanes do you have in place so you don't become consumed by all this?
Yeah, I think a couple things. With the exception of LinkedIn, right, which is professional social media and definitely has differing boundaries that do not exhaust me in any way. I have actually left social media on purpose because I just found that it didn't serve me, especially in such a tumultuous time that we're in now. It really was one of those, what is it healthy for me? Does it add more to my life or take away more from my life? And I decided that it took away more from my life because I am actually in touch with and spend time with the humans that are intimately close to me. I don't need social media to stay in touch with them. I don't need it. It just became too broad and too overwhelming, and I was too affected, and I had to step away. So I think it's also allowing. I think what I would say is allowing yourself permission to step away from things that don't serve you, even if the whole gang is doing it,
Mm,
right? So that helped me there. The other thing too, in being able to stay positive and is this term of self-care. I actually know what that means. I know how to say no. I know how to shut down. I know how to create boundaries. So it enables me. I think that's what helps me stay positive is that I don't. I start with self, because if
mm,
I'm not taking care of myself, how can I take care of others?
mm.
Um, in particular, my family. So yeah, for me, it's making the choices again that serve me without the consideration of how it might look. Just not a
Yeah.
concern of mine.
Oh, I love that. And as you're talking, it just makes me flash to taking care of you. I feel like that's so difficult because at least I know in my journey, Doreen, I was never raised or culturalized to put myself anywhere in the equation. And I was so knee deep. I didn't even realize it. These terms we talk about, but I don't think you ever pause and think about how it shows up in your life, this chameleon people pleasing mode. I was so addicted to getting you to like me. I had no
Mhm.
opinion. I even as something as simple as what do you want to eat? What do you want? Yes, that's what I want. So when you talk about taking care of you, what does that mean? Can you share with our audience, especially the person listening that's like, I don't even know where to start to take care of me? What's one micro step or what's one thing that you do that feeds your soul before you get out into the rest of the world?
Well, I think that is it. Like, what rejuvenates you, right? And even in, let's go with the boundaries of the work world, right? Let's start there, right? We know the work I do is inside leadership development, organizational development, human development. We actually have research, we have data. Let's talk about women in particular, that we know women in particular struggle with what we call over rowing the boat, proving their value, meaning that as they ascend in leadership roles, etc., or taking on more responsibility and running things, right? They have a very difficult time saying no, understanding that, like, my boat, like we call it over rowing the boat, meaning you're just rowing and rowing and taking more on and taking more on and taking more on until you're going to sink. And I think what that is knowing that you can say no, you can create your own boundaries. They can be very powerful and much respected, and you will actually not sink. It also,
Mm,
unfortunately, makes you, we see that with women and having this mentality, it hurts their leadership because they're actually not delegating and empowering. And I'm not saying this is the case with all women, of course not. But that's part of the problem. I still have to prove my value, but no, you've already proven your value. That's why you're
mm.
a leader. Now you actually have to exist differently and empower others. And allow them to shine and allow them to help you and utilize their talent. So for me, it's the ability. It's back to the same thing. Setting boundaries, making sure I'm doing the little things that make me
Mm.
happy. Right, getting up and having a cup of coffee and breakfast before I dive into work because that makes me feel set. Saying no, I'm done at 5:30, or I'm done. My son's coming home. I'm done. I'll certainly go back to it in moments of pressing need, but understanding that it will be there tomorrow. With the exception of the true brain surgeon that's going to save someone's lives, all the stuff will be there for us tomorrow.
Yeah. As you're talking, it just makes me think about I've been really intrigued lately on this setting intentions. And it sounds hokey and woo woo, but it is so powerful. We're so quick to just go through the motions. And to your point, Doreen, when people throw tasks at us, if you're like me, hand raised, just want to complete, get it done, check, get it done, and you become so task driven that
Mhm.
somewhere in your journey, man, you're sitting in the passenger seat and circumstances behind the wheel. And I was reading something the other day that said that 80% of us never set an intention. Like what do we want out of this conversation? When am I closing shop today so I can be with my family? Who do I want to show up as today? Those
Mhm.
simple questions that are so powerful, and just even setting that intention, you are 45 more percent likely to accomplish that. And as you're talking about boundaries, it just made me flash to a conversation I had with a girlfriend a couple weeks ago. Entrepreneur, leading this movement, a lot happening. And I said to her, how do you not lose yourself? Because I feel like the world will swallow you whole if you
Yep.
if you let it. And she said, Meg, not every day's the same, but I every day I tell myself, or I try to, shut down shop at 6 o'clock. Shut down shop at 6 o'clock. That's a boundary. What sort of boundaries do you have? Is it the fact that, listen, I can't take these calls after 5 because my son's here and I need to be with my family?
Yeah, it is. And I also think it's the here's another thing that I think certainly can be, from an American perspective, a cultural struggle is letting go when you actually do take off. Like
Oh,
is are you really off? Now, to be clear, based on the amount of vacation time and the flexibility you have, etc. I am not saying that, there aren't times when there is really something that you could say it is just this is special, this is unique, I do have to pay attention to this. But if you actually looked at that and really ask yourself, if I am not involved, will this still move forward? If I am not involved, will this still be successful? If I am not involved, I think most of the time we would say it'll be fine. I have a lot of people that are, we don't usually work in a vacuum or exist in a vacuum. So I think it's knowing that you require a certain amount of shutdown time every dang month, every dang week, every dang year. And especially those times where you need days, 9 days, 8 days, whatever it takes to just be out of it and truly be present with whomever you tend to spend time with, because it'll all be there when you get back.
I love that. I had just posted something the other day about PTO is not pretend time off.
Right? I love that. I never, Meg, that's great. I didn't hear that. It's not pretend.
It's not pretend. And I also think if you're a leader listening to this, and I'd love your take on this, Doreen, especially as someone who does so much work in women in leadership. If you are a leader, please do not send emails to someone when they are on PTO. Use the schedule send if you need to get it out, because you are unintentionally creating this culture of people feeling like they need to respond. What is your, any additional feedback on that, or on setting parameters, or on setting yourself up for success so you can truly use PTO for what's it intended for and respect it?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I know like our leaders, what's really, really neat about our leaders is many of them have said, hey, I might just be randomly heading to my computer and it could be 11:30 at night. It could be whatever time in the morning. Just because I send an email doesn't mean you have to respond.
Mm,
So I think that is really good leadership, is giving permission to to your staff, right? To your folks to say, hey, we all might work differently, but and feel free to be you, but know that the standard is you don't have to reply until business hours. And if you're off, you're off. That's what's been the message of our organization. So that certainly helps. Now, I'm a strong-willed individual, so I would just ignore it. That's just me. However, if I was in a culture where you were punished or you were ridiculed for that, it's just not okay. I don't know what else to say about it. And also, we know that it's not what inspires folks.
mm.
And that old adage, Megan, that says, people don't leave organizations, they leave their manager. That is true literally the majority of the time. So if you're going to act that way and that's the culture you're going to create, sometimes it may not even be organizationally wide, it could be siloed. People will leave you. It's the bottom line. People will leave you. So I think set your own boundaries and look for those inspirational leaders, those true inclusive, right? Inspiring leaders that understand and care about your well-being. That always can't be the case. So I just think you have to make your own boundaries too.
And it
That's my
also makes me
advice.
think of you are who you surround yourself with. And we talk about that a lot, but I don't think we really stop and think about it. And as you were talking about surrounding yourself with leaders that practice these things that you want, that's so powerful to look at jealousy and envy and think, "Oh, I want that." There's a reason for that. And maybe it doesn't need to be the jealousy or envy, but just the fact that if someone has the job that you want or feels that they're showing up inspired, fulfilled, and you want a dose of that, spend time with them.
Agreed.
And that makes me think to how you and I connected.
Right.
I absolutely loved it. I think there is so much power in putting out the ask because no one's a mind reader.
Agreed. And I'm so glad you did, Megan. Having you come into my life has been such a joy this year and such a bonus. And I love that you just reached out and said, hey, sister, we're fellowship alumni. We went to the same college. I love your messaging. Let's talk. And you certainly reached out to the right person. I love to build relationships. I love to help others, love to empower others, especially women, who I think need the empowerment more and I it's so wonderful to have someone with such a genuine soul and energy and
Mm.
just beauty come my way, Megan, so I'm thrilled that you did.
Oh, and ditto, ditto, my girl. And I have to share with our audience, you and I had a very powerful conversation. Was it this week?
It may have been, oh yes, it was this
Oh
week.
my God.
Yes, it was.
If your mind works like my girl, everything's like
Oh,
five
I know,
minutes or
it's like, when
5 years
was
ago.
that?
When was that?
No. Was that this week or last year?
Or last year? Because it could be either.
That's right.
And you said something so powerful on that call that it stuck with me. And it was this: if something meshes, great. If something comes and there's some collaboration from this call that we can do to support each other, great. And if not, that's okay too. And in this world of WIFM, what's in it for me?
Mhm.
How can I leverage what you're doing to help me? It just this constant urge to control outcomes. It really resonated with me, this human first mentality that comes so genuine from you. Have you always had this flow with it philosophy, or has that come over time?
I would say for sure. I think it innately was there, but I it has definitely come over time, and it's come with work, with
Mm.
awareness. It started with self-help books, right? I remember in my 20s reading two things, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway was huge for me, which was, and it was, it's a, it's really basic. It's really basically thinking, what's the worst thing that can happen, and can
Mm.
I live with that? There are very few times. I don't think I've ever had a scenario where I'm like, nope, I can't live with that. I mean, that's therefore you have the ability. I had the ability to take risks and let go of outcome, right? Because I knew that I needed to take that pathway. Now my assurance and my ability to do that, my confidence, my that is definitely increased with more knowledge of myself through, again, whether it's therapy, whether it's conversations, deep conversations like I like to get in, Megan, with folks like you, this constant introspection for sure. And I also want to say, you mentioned something about, hey, it just wasn't in me, right? To when you like, you're like, I just didn't have this foundation of self,
Mm.
right? I am very lucky. I want to very much say, to me, I was absolutely raised by parents who empowered me, by
Mm.
parents who told me I could do anything, that anything
Mm.
was possible. I was loved, I was safe, and it was fun. So I am one. I wish that I could say that the majority of us had this experience. Unfortunately, that's not true. So there was a foundation. I think a driven and a very from what my mother tells me, that confident nature was there, but
Mm.
I also had the nurture. I had both. So I although we all have our angst in our 20s, and gosh, and it can continue throughout our life. My foundation, at my starting point, I will admit, I had a leg up. There's no doubt about it.
I love that. As you were talking about reading the feel the fear and do it anyway, and asking yourself these questions and the confidence that came from it, it made me think of this other buzzword that we use, which is trust your intuition. And for a long time, Doreen, I had no idea what the hell that was,
Yeah.
because I was so quick to do a Google search, survey my closest friends and family, tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And
Right.
it just makes me think how powerful that little gymnast in your belly that tells you to do the thing it is, if you give it space to hear it. That's intuition. And all the
Correct.
big leaders in the world, the Bill Gates, the Albert Einsteins, the Sarah Blakeleys, like everyone says, there are times when you have to lead with your intuition, personally and professionally. Do you have any practices, or can you share with our listener that's like, yeah, I don't even know what my intuition tells me? How can they hear that? What practices could they use so they can hear that voice?
Well, I think number one, slow down.
Mm.
Slow down. I think, we move so quickly. We're in such a frenzy. We have so many things coming at us, right? And we have so much stimuli. Let's be honest, like coming from every direction. So I think we have to slow down and really take a moment to pause and think about what's happening. So that, I would say, for sure, you have to give yourself room to process. An
Yeah.
extrovert, I can say that has to be intentional, because I am drawn, right? I get my energy from people, and I'm drawn to experience, experience, experience. That's great. But if I don't pause and I have to force myself. I want to just be in the next meeting, the next conversation, the next situation, the next event. I mean, it's whoa, 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 slow down. What happened there, and what are you observing? Right? Like, it doesn't have to be in the moment, but it may be like, I just went to this event and I was with all these people. What's my thoughts around what it was, who they are? You do need to slow down. But Megan, I will tell you, the only time I get mad at myself is when I don't listen to my intuition, because I swear to you, it's right 100% of the time, 100%. And that is what, I think that's the key. The other thing that's really helped me is when people show you who they are, believe them.
Mm. Mm. It's so funny that you say that, the slow down. So one of my favorite things has been car time. Car time in silence. Girl, just even going to the grocery store. 10
I
minutes
agree.
down the road, I'm like, I'll go. just in silence to have a moment to
Right.
hear myself. And as you're
You also have to
talking,
leave the house, right? Because we're not forced to leave the house. So, like, I work remotely too. We have to get out. Like, we have to, it's different from going to a standard office job or, what we lived for most of our lives, right, Megan? Now, I know you're a solo, entrepreneur. So, for sure. But a lot of us are living differently, working for organizations than we used to, right? We used to have that natural getting out. That doesn't, right? A lot of us now with the remote work, that may not be occurring for all of us.
and I think there's a lot of anxiety around that. Like I was telling someone the other day, I did not realize how much I would miss being around people. Yes, I'm an extrovert meets introvert. I need that alone time, but not all the time because that's a
Right.
slippery place for me to be. And so I feel as if we're in this weird conundrum, like this inner angst of, I want to see people, but the fact that I don't have to leave my house and I can have the slippers on and the yoga pants and I don't have to fight traffic is a comfort. So I'll stay in the lane of comfort. What's your take on all of that, on where we are with the remote work, with the back to the office, with the living behind the screens, with what's your take on where we are in this conundrum?
Well, I think we would have been there just a little later, Megan. I think this is
Mm,
where the world was heading. COVID just, the pandemic just accelerated it. I would have imagined by, let's say, maybe it would have been 2030 that this is, I think we were 10 years from or more like from this becoming more of a model. I don't know how fast or slow, but I just saw the world going this way, where
mm.
you could work from wherever, talent could be tapped into from across the globe or literally just across the state. So I think this was the future. It just got accelerated. I think, again, I would say you have to do what works for you.
Mm,
That's my answer. If you need the connection of the office and you realize that you're unhappy or you're not fulfilled because you don't have that, then you need to find something local, right? And maybe you love the flexibility. You do want to be home Mondays and Fridays. That's what I love too. The option, the hybrid is so great. And I think that optional hybrid seems to be really sticking. There are very few folks that I'm talking with where they're like, we were ordered back in the office 5 days. I mean, that's rare. It's usually we're still all remote or it's a hybrid. We have flexibility. I think that's what the worker that doesn't have to be on site um is looking for. And again, like I said, that's my take on it. I know it. I think what's difficult about it is that it was thrust on us
mm.
immediately, like all at once, that we didn't have the time to see this evolution. So now I think it's up to the individual to say, hey, how do I want my work life to be?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Again, back to the power of your life is the power of the questions that you ask yourself.
Yep.
Doreen, I would love to ask you this because this has been coming up in so many conversations I've had lately. Is this just exhaustion? Exhaustion that we all are experiencing in our own right. And not only even at work, just in life. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine the other day, and she's like, Meg, I used to love working out and move my body. And for 20 years, it was my jam. She said, and now I don't give a shit about it. Like I can't get the energy and there's some like shame around it. And I just feel like just blah about everything. So Doreen, for the woman that's listening right now, or any one of our listeners that's like, yeah, I feel like I'm just existing. The things that once gave me joy no longer do. Personally, professionally, I'm just sort of going through the motions. What's one thing that they could do to just feel that glimmer of excitement and connection to themselves again?
Well, are they in menopause? I have to ask that because I will tell you this menopause thing. I'll tell you what. Very interesting. It definitely brought on things for me that I never had in my entire life. The I want to say struggle to plus the times. I mean, struggle to cope in a way with all of it, right? That I never struggled with before. I'm here, I would say my answer to that is I will always say seek help. I really will. And
Mm,
I mean that not you do not have to be clinically depressed lying in bed to believe that you need help. You do not have to be buckled by anxiety to believe that you need help. You do not have to have a technical mental illness to believe that you need help. I think it's just the natural progression of life. I think there are times when and also because of the times that it just becomes too much, and we it's hard to find the joy. And I went through that for sure, Megan. It's like an existential crisis. For who, for what, right? All of this for who, for what. I think it's probably more common than we think. You live life for decades and decades, and and you're like, what wheel am I on? And it could be all about too. It could be all about saying all those things that motivated, like your girlfriend, that motivated me before, that made me feel joy and feel fulfilled before, isn't working. Why?
mm,
And I don't
mm.
know the answer for each individual. I just know that I've experienced it too. I think part of mine for sure was hormonal and out of my control. I think it also occurred simultaneously with an incredibly upsetting to me, tumultuous world. So I just think, to me, I would always say my advice for anything, anywhere, is seek help. You
Mm.
don't have clarity in your career, seek help, get a coach. You don't have clarity in your life, seek help, go see a counselor, see a therapist, get in a group session, talk to your people, read books. Like seek, that would be my answer. Seek, because you can shift it. Um, just be careful by not just sitting in it so it becomes who you are.
Oh my God, I love that. Seek. That just made me think of seek, don't numb.
Don't numb. Now we're bound to numb for a bit. We're bound to numb at times. And I think we need to if you want to be, if you honestly, I think at times in moments, I think that can serve us. I do, but not as a way of being. As a way
Yeah.
of being. Because we're obviously not addressing what's really there for us. And we're obviously not seeking.
And as you're talking about the seeking, it just makes me think about vulnerability. And I've been on this whole kick with vulnerability lately. Like I feel as if we glamorize it. Hashtag vulnerability is strength.
It
And
is a big buzz, isn't it?
I've used it myself.
Of course.
But here's the thing, like it will not always feel glamorous. It will not always feel good.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable is hard. And I think before you can bring vulnerability into any external conversation, whether that be at the boardroom or in the dining room table, you got to be vulnerable with yourself first.
100%.
And that's the hardest thing to do. Do you have any recommendations on how to be honest with yourself first?
Um, I would say you have to listen to yourself, right? Again,
Mm,
like something you might not know. There have been many times in my life where I'm like, something's not right, but I don't know what it is. Like that's okay too, the not knowing, but knowing that, huh, okay, I have to start. Let me start. I think I'm gonna have to start thinking about things because something's off and I can't grab it. So I again, it does go back to the listen to, even though, and also watch the shoulds. Well, I'm successful, so I should be happy.
mm,
I'm making more money than ever, so I should be happy. Everyone around me is praising me, so I should be happy. I have, but I'm not. Why is that? What's missing? What's the I think again it does go back to a similar what I was talking about is that pause and that seeking of why am I not feeling right?
yeah. Yeah. And the other thing during that I love your experience and your feedback on in your journey is that as I've had courage to be vulnerable with myself and put it out into the world, and it has not always felt comfortable. I was sharing with you when the TEDx talk came out. I was sitting in the living room with my
Right?
husband and my parents, a very judge free zone. And Doreen, I wanted to throw up and I wanted to crawl and I wanted to hide the vulnerability hangover. But what has been so interesting is that people that I knew my whole life, family and friends, have been sending me messages, and it made me realize I never really knew them. I knew them surface level, but I never really knew them behind the mask. Have you found that in your journey as you've been more vulnerable enough to share it out in the world that you've sort of written people the permission slip to show themselves to you?
Megan, that's exactly you really that's interesting the way you put it. I do find that I have been a sounding board and a safe
Mm.
space for others throughout my life. Um, and I do think that is because I exist because I'm willing to go to those vulnerable places, share the vulnerable things, exist in it's not even I don't know if it's authenticity.
Mm.
It's truly to me it's I'm my authentic self and without apology. And I
Mm.
think that's important. I think that that inspires others. I don't do it for that. I do it because there's no other way to be for me, to be able to be happy and be true to myself. But I think that helps others feel that they have a safe space. I also offer them a safe space and say, look, this is the vault, this is the zone. I'm here for you. Nothing that you're experiencing or feeling. And I also pay attention. I'm in tune to people. So I see I can see their struggle and feel their struggle sometimes before they can, so I think it's opening that space and being that way too, and being consistent and being your word, right? That makes people feel safe and respect you and trust you.
Mm. I, as you were talking and you talked about authentic self and human connection, it just made me think about this big push, again, buzzword, but big push to bring human first conversations into our corporate environment, the place we've never been taught how to, because heck, we weren't even taught at home how to do this. So, how do we expect each other to do this into an environment that we've never been taught? And I would love your take on someone that's listening that's a leader that knows their team is just burnt out and beyond burnout and just sort of going through the motions, but they don't know how to start and have the conversations. How do we begin to bring this humanization into our work world? What's your thoughts on that? Where do we start?
Well, I think what you're going to hear a lot of, Megan, it's starting to buzz, and it's going to be huge because it's everything, and that is empathetic leadership.
Mm.
There's no doubt about it. We know that the younger generations are are coming at this approach to work very differently, with an expectation that some of us didn't have. Like what you said, growing up, the world of work was seen as, well, you put your big boy or girl pants on at work and it's different at work, and you're allowed to be treated differently at work. And that is not the case any longer. And we know not only that, but that's how people are going to respond, is to empathy,
Mm.
and is to empathetic leadership. With that empathy comes I believe also, if you have the leader that's empathetic, that is also vulnerable, willing to share, I'm struggling with taking care of my elderly parent. I understand how taxing the world, not only the world of work, but all of the scenarios that are behind the scenes that people might not know about. The other the empathy of, you don't know, hey, I might not know everything's Megan's struggling with, so I should not assume that she is able to find that extra in the tank, because what's going on with her. So
Mm.
I think it's really knowing your people and creating that empathetic leadership space, doing some of the things you said, Megan, which is being the leader that says, when your PTO is not pretend time off, I don't want to hear from you. Go shut down, go enjoy yourself, knock yourself out. You need time off. How about this? You know what? I'm going to give you the Friday before the holiday. It's not a company holiday, but you know what? We're not working that day. We're not, you need an extra day. You guys have been killing it. That's an unofficial day off the clock. There's so many things people can do and leaders can do to make people feel valued and heard and respected, right? And like they're superstars. And so it's empathy is everything. There and it's just going to have to be part of the way it is. And here's the good news about all the research and all the data. And I could go on and on with all these. I have so much in my brain and so much on paper from all the work that we do. But what is really wonderful is all of the right things to do lead to better business results. So it's a win-win. I'd love to be able to, gosh, I wish I had a direct line to many of these incredibly powerful CEOs, to say, why, look, maybe you're not that altruistic person that actually truly cares about your people. Okay, but guess what? You're leaving money on the table. You're leaving money on the table. If you create this kind of culture, you're going to have higher levels of innovation, growth, revenue. You're going to attract diverse talent, which we know creates, again, better results. So it's the understanding that it's not just the right thing to do. It will produce better business results.
Yes, I love that. Doreen, for the listener that is salivating over everything that you just laid out, they want to learn more about Linkage and the work that you do. Where can they find you and how can they find out more about the Linkage community?
Sure, sure. And I also have to say, we're so lucky to have joined SHRM, which is completely supporting the entire HR community, the human resource community that deals so much with, these very difficult personnel issues, and are the ones trying to move the needle and change the game, and create fair workplaces where all can thrive. You can reach us, you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm certainly available, have a presence there. That is where I would say is the best place to reach out to me and connect with me.
And gang, we'll link it in the show notes. I'll put Doreen's email
Sure, and
and
I'll
I'll
definitely provide email. That's absolutely no problem. And I'm happy, Megan, one of the things that I love, I truly love to do and will always follow through on, and you experience that this week, is I don't think any conversation is a waste of my time. That's not the way I see things. And I'm in sales, I'm in business development. I certainly have goals and, things that I have to achieve. But I believe that two things can be true at the same time. I can do that and also be in contribution to others all the time. I love to network. I love to connect others. I love to help others find their purpose and passion. So, no conversation to me is a waste. I actually truly enjoy any way that I can help folks.
I love that. And how quick that we are in our world of what can I get from you? I got to hit this result, that we lose sight of these beautiful moments. And you, my friend, our friendship has meant so much to me, that has authentically and organically just grown. Again, we say these words and I think they lose their weight and emotional connection the more that they're blasted in our ears. But empowered women empower women. It is so true. And you have empowered me and also have shown me the power of authenticity and the power of collaboration and the power of just stepping into your fucking
Community,
power.
right? Community is
Yeah.
everything too. Like, I think sometimes it has to be about community and exploration and just being there for one another. And
Mm,
it doesn't, I also would ask people, I don't understand, like, it feels so good to help others. Why isn't that enough? I mean, it's
yeah.
not that I'm not getting anything. I mean, I actually am. My soul is being filled by helping others. So I would say, acknowledge that, like that, and there, I would argue that the majority of us want to do that, and that is what it's about. It's not really, it's not always about, what is in it for me. It's just not. And I would say we do get rewards if we really approach it correctly.
Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing your words, your wisdom, your mask down, putting that damn mask down, girl, today, and sharing who you are and your wisdom with the world. I love you and I loved having you here. Thank you for the nuggets.
Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you for doing what you do. Appreciate you so much. Thank you.